I've been thinking a lot about the robots controlling us. Jeffrey Hinton, kind of considered the father of AI, says that no species has ever been smarter than another species and not controlled it. And his view is that if AI at some point becomes more intelligent than humans, that it's going to control us. In today's office hours, we discuss how to get involved in politics, how I develop and deliver my ideas, and where I get my news. Our first question is from T122-11 on Reddit, and they say, "Hey Scott, I'm interested in your thoughts on how to get involved in politics for someone not currently involved. I'm a 30-year-old married male with a good job in fintech, and I'm a Democrat voter who's very worried about the future of the government. Currently, I do the bare minimum towards improving our country's politics. I vote and try to stay informed. I listen to podcasts and read the news. For someone who wants to put effort into contributing and improving our country's future but doesn't know where to start, what are some actually impactful ways to get involved? Thanks." I think there's a lot you can do. I mean, obviously the first is to vote. The next is to encourage your family members to vote. And I don't think you encourage them to vote by lecturing at them your views on politics. I don't know if you have kids or some young people in your life, but I don't think I voted until I was well into my 20s. And I wish someone had kind of drilled into me the importance of your civic responsibility of voting. So get people to vote. Be informed. I think if you have a social media platform and, everyone to a certain extent is sort of a small media company, but I think being really thoughtful and highlighting some candidates, policies that you enjoy, you can obviously give a little bit of money. But I think being just politically aware, talking to people about it, encouraging people to vote, you can obviously volunteer as an election or a pollster, someone who works at the polls. I find those people are always really impressive. You go into some gym and it's just so well organized and they take it very seriously. I wish I'd started voting earlier because I find it a really inspiring experience. Everyone seems to get along. Everyone feels good about themselves, feels good about the country. The easy stuff, if you want, give some money. Use your platform to talk about policies and issues. Encourage people around you to vote. Canvass, try and volunteer, maybe even to register people to vote. I think, those people that set up tables in a busy area and say, "Are you eligible to vote in New York?" And I was like, no, Florida resident. No, don't talk to me. But I think that that's part of it. And then if you really want to get involved in a campaign. I've decided one of my big focuses or foci is going to be flipping the House back to Democratic control. Not supposed to talk about politics on this show, but I'm going to. And I'm going to commit my time, treasure, and talent. So those are really the three things, right? Your time, your treasure, and your talent. And that is canvassing, getting involved in the campaign, talking to people about voting. Treasure, obviously, give money if you can. And then your talent, trying to use your platform or get involved in a campaign and see where you can add some value. I've found working on a campaign to be actually quite rewarding. I think it's great for young people. If I were just out of college or just out of high school and trying to figure out what I was going to do, I would just see if I could go work on a campaign. I think it's just a ton of fun, ton of young people. Lots of ways to get involved, and congratulations on your civic interest.
Support for this show comes from LinkedIn. If you've ever hired for your small business, you know how important it is to find the right person. That's why LinkedIn Jobs is stepping things up with their new AI assistant, so you can feel confident you're finding top talent that you can't find anywhere else. And those great candidates you're looking for are already on LinkedIn. In fact, according to their data, employees hired through LinkedIn are 30% more likely to stick around for at least a year compared to those hired through the leading competitor. That's a big deal when every hire counts. With LinkedIn Jobs AI Assistant, you can skip confusing steps in recruiting jargon. It filters through applicants based on criteria you've set for your role and surfaces only the best matches so you're not stuck sorting through a mountain of resumes. LinkedIn Jobs AI Assistant can even suggest 25 great fit candidates daily so you can invite them to apply and keep things moving. Hire right the first time. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/prof, then promote it to use LinkedIn Jobs' new AI assistant, making it easier and faster to find top candidates. That's linkedin.com/prof to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply.
Question number 2.
Hey, Scott. I like how authentic yet articulate your speaking and writing styles are. Do you pre-write or rehearse your talking points for topics you know will come up throughout the week, or do you just speak on instinct? Also, do you employ any writers to help you with that? I'd love to know your secret. Thanks.
So I'll give you my approach, and then I'll tell you a bit about the resources. I've been thinking a lot about the robots controlling us. Jeffrey Hinton, kind of considered the father of AI, says that no species has ever been smarter then another species had not controlled it. And his view is that if AI at some point becomes more intelligent than humans, that it's going to control us. I'm not sure I buy that. I'm not a philosopher and, defer to Jeffrey Hinton over Scott Galloway, but I think there's always a kill switch in technology. But you have right now, I would argue that AI is already controlling us. What do I mean by that? I think our narrative and our orthodoxy and our beliefs and our values are being shaped by algorithms. And it's true of me, or at least until recently, and that is I spent so much time on social media and on my screen, and there's a constant feedback loop saying, oh, what you said here is right and popular. And what happens is the algorithms identify kind of your political leanings and then take you further and further left. And the people who are drawn to you, or the bots, are increasingly like of one narrative and will give you 2,000 upvotes if you say something really mean and biting about the president. But if you say President Biden is too old to run for president, you get hateful comments or the algorithms, and also a lot of people absolutely weaponize bots to try and shape your view or shut you down. I've tried to be much better about posting content regardless of there's content I put out. I know that it's just going to go hair on fire and my comments are going to fill up with rage and how disappointed in me people are. And I'm like, that's not why we're here. So my approach to writing is the following. I want to be fearless. I want to write as if the only people who are going to read it are my kids in 20 years, and I want them to better understand the world and me. And so when I write something, I feel as if I have to do all these land acknowledgments. If I say something about, boys needing men, and I have to say, well, and obviously mothers play a crucial role. You get worried about the comments and the narrative and being shamed. And my view is how I try and write is if I think of something funny or off color or dirty or a sexual reference, I like profanity. I write I'll include profanity. If I think that men should pay for dates always, which I know is going to trigger some people. Women have a shorter fertility window. Men need relationships more than women. A way you recognize the asymmetry, or at least nod to it, is at a minimum show some valor. And every mammal has a courtship process, and I think part of that is when you're a man that you pay for stuff. When I write that, I know it's going to trigger people, and it's going to fill up with a lot of comments. But I also think a lot of people would look at the reasoning and think, yeah, that's probably right. So in some, I can write well, I know that, but I try to find insight, and more importantly, I try to be fearless, such that the algorithms, at some point, I want to control the machines, not vice versa. And there's so much pressure now to sign up to a certain narrative and the same orthodoxy that, as Jonathan Haidt says, when we're all barking up the same tree, we get really stupid. Now, back to resources. I have a ton of people drafting, editing, putting together charts, researching. I have a research team headed by a woman named Mia Silverio that comes up with ideas. We do a call with about 10 people on a Monday morning. We go over ideas and we say, okay, can we add anything to this idea? And then we figure out the medium for it. Is it going to be in a video? Is it going to be in our newsletter? Is it something that might end up in one of our books? Is it something that makes for interesting data in one of my presentations? I had someone help me with my last book, one of the most talented people I've ever worked with, Peter Smith. By the time the newsletter's done, 5 or 6 people have touched it. Anytime I write a book, it's like probably half the team, 8 to 12 people have touched it. I'm a big believer in if you have a good little business, but it's not scaling and you're having a tough time, you think, wow, we're really good at what we do, but we're having a tough time getting to enterprise value. What is enterprise value? Enterprise value means that the company has value without any single individual or small group of people. So here at Prof G, we're trying to establish enterprise value by launching podcasts that do not feature yours truly. Most companies never go from a practice to an enterprise. Why is that? They're not good at scaling. And what I mean by that is they're not great at figuring out a way to scale with other people. Again, see above, greatness is in the agency of others. Why? Because a lot of times small businesses are like, oh, I'm super talented and all these people are fortunate to be here and they're young and they're learning, but I'm taking 80% of the economic value out because I'm quote unquote the founder and the secret sauce. This is why most firms never scale, or they're just bad managers and can't attract and retain people. What you need to do is A, compensate people well, both economic and non-economic compensation, and figure out career paths for them, and also show that you have a vested interest in getting them to economic security as well. And I don't want to virtue signal too much. When my companies get sold, I make more money than anyone else, but I usually give away a large portion of the company because I want people to feel like they have a vested interest in, or we have mutual vested interest in each other's success. And what I find with a lot of these practices never become enterprises, they don't share in the fruits. They pay kind of their people the minimum, and then what do you know? Those good people leave because those people want to be owners and want to make money too. I just see it all the time. People talk a big game about scaling, and I'm like, well, have you given any equity away? What do you pay your people? Well, why the fuck would they stay with you? They churn through these young people who are willing to, not make a lot of money. And then the really talented ones move on to something else because they want to also develop economic security and kind of be ballers. There's a lot of non-economic compensation too, trying to get people time on stage, trying to get them opportunities where other people clap for them. It's just not all about you. There's just a lot of ways to create compensation that's both economic and non-economic. Oh yeah, people think I work 80 hours a week and it's amazing I can do this and doodle this and put all this content out, and the answer is like, no, I do none of that. I work probably 40 to 50 hours a week now. I used to work 60 to 70. Greatness and scale is in the agency of others.
Support for the show comes from Grüns. The holidays are a time to indulge, but even if you're eating more than you typically do, you might not be getting the nutrients you actually need to end the year on a high note. Grüns may be able to help you fill the nutritional gap so that you can enjoy it all guilt-free. Grüns is a convenient, comprehensive formula packed into a tasty little pack of gummies. This isn't a multivitamin, or greens gummy, or a prebiotic. It's all of those things and then some at a fraction of the price. And bonus, it tastes great. Every Grüns snack pack is filled with 6 grams of prebiotic fiber, which is more than what you get in 2 cups of broccoli. Plus, Grüns are nut, gluten, and dairy-free, vegan, include no artificial flavors or colors, and are backed by over 35,000 research publications. Don't let the holiday travel, hosting, parties, and late nights set you back. Give yourself a little extra support so you can enjoy all the holidays' magic. Get up to 52% off with code Prof G at Grüns.co. That's code Prof G at GRUNS.co.
Welcome back. Our final question is from McDevitt Sean on Reddit. They say, Scott, you've mentioned recently that you get your news mostly from TikTok, Reels, and other video type sources. Who do you follow? Who is the most trustworthy? Lastly, what does it mean for the future when we can't take time to read the full article anymore? According to a 2025 report by the Reuters Institute, social media and video networks have become the main source of news in the U.S., overtaking traditional TV channels and news websites. More than half, 54% of people get news from networks, including Facebook, X, and YouTube, overtaking TV, 50%, and news sites and apps, 48%. TikTok is the world's fastest growing social and video network, used for news by 17% of people around the world, up 4 percentage points since last year. More than half of respondents across the market say they worry about their ability to distinguish what's true and what is false in online news. Again, see above, the algorithms or AI has already taken over, because if you see something enough, you start to think that it's maybe, if it's not true, that it's less false. And that's the problem with social media right now, is that stuff is incendiary. If somebody says mRNA vaccines alter your DNA, which is verifiably false, it gets more reach than it would organically because it triggers people. And so the algorithms go, okay, if it's going to upset people, they're going to make comments, and every additional comment is another Nissan ad and more money for us, Meta. So it elevates controversial, novel content, which is Latin for bullshit, and misinformation above its own organic reach. And this is why Section 230 protection needs to be removed for algorithmically elevated content. I don't believe in censorship. The dissenter's voice is important. People should be able to say pretty much anything about pretty much anybody. But should it get reach that's greater than it would get on its own organically? Okay, even if it does, then the social media platform has decided they are a media company editing and creating content, meaning they should be subject to the same standards that every other media company is subject to. In terms of what I watch, I find that TikTok and Reels do just an amazing job using AI to figure out that I like listening to boring economists and geopolitical. I've been listening to this guy, the Geo Husar, who I think is just fascinating on geopolitics. And to TikTok and Reels' credit, they find just these amazing, I love that these basement economists and geopoliticians, I find some of them are just fascinating and very good at what they do. I've been watching these little clips from the FT about interesting data from this very handsome British kid in a flannel shirt, which makes you feel like it's, I don't know, more Gen Z or something. Everything from the Wall Street Journal to these interesting economists, the clips from traditional media. I was talking to Van Jones on the way back from an event in Toronto, and he said that broadcast or cable news never makes news anymore. News doesn't happen when they're doing it. He says it's all about just trying to find a clip that can then get spun around the internet because it's sort of interesting. Like the social media platforms still love the traditional media guys. There's something about having an MSNBC logo behind you or whatever that gives credibility to something. But they're basically there to serve as fodder at the top of the funnel. And ultimately, the real impact that cable news has is not on cable news. It's on social media platforms. A long-winded answer where there really wasn't an answer. That's all for this episode. If you'd like to submit a question for next time, you can send a voice recording to officehours@profgmedia.com. Again, that's officehours@profgmedia.com. Or post your question on the Scott Galloway subreddit, and we just might feature it in our next episode. You're welcome.